So the high school I go to is always doing fundraisers because they're broke. And, well, because they're broke, most of the groups or clubs or whatever activities don't have very much funding from the school. So in my sophomore year, on Valentine's Day, the choir did a fundraiser. I think it was for a trip they were doing or something. And basically they had these two groups. I think they were both audition groups, and they're pretty small groups, but one was the Velvetones. That was a group of girls that were in choir. And then one was the Manitones, and that was a group of guys that were in the choir. And the fundraiser was that you could buy they called it a singing gram. And basically what that meant, I mean, it was very similar to putting a hit on someone if the hitmen were choir singers. So you could buy a singing gram for, I think, $10 or $5, and you would tell them which person the singing gram was for, and then which period of the day, which class it was supposed to be used in. And one of my friends told me he was going to get me both the Manitone and the Velvetone singing gram for every period of the day, and I thought he was joking. He was not joking. The only period I didn't have one for was gym, I guess lunch, if you want to count that. And then my free period, he didn't buy one for my free period, but I still ended up having one. So the effect of the singing gram was not just that they would come sing to you during your class. That was part of it. That was the most normal part of it. And for the Manitones, that was pretty much all of it. You would get pulled to the front of the class, and they would stand around you in a circle and sing to you. I think the song that the Manitones sang was... the song that the Manitones sang was Shaboom by The Chords. And, yeah, the Manitones were pretty normal. They would come in and you'd sit on a stool or whatever at the front of the class, and they would sing to you. I think they sung, like, 2 other songs or something, but I don't remember them. I only remember that one. And then the Velvetones, which was the group of girls, did quite a bit more than sing to you. The singing was the least humiliating part of the ritual. So the Velvetones would pull you to the front of the class, and then you'd had to hope that someone else in that class also had one, otherwise it was only you up there. And they did not just sing to you, so they would touch you a lot. There's no easier way to put that. They would mess with your hair, your hood, your clothes, your shoes, your shoelaces, so many things. I don't think they were really given instructions on what to do, so I don't think there was any limits. But yeah, my friend did in fact buy me one for every period. So in my first period, I had 2, and I was starting to doubt my belief that he was bluffing after that. And then in second period, I had 2 again, and my shoelaces were tied together and around the chair, the leg of the chair I was sitting on. So that was not fun to undo. I was at the front of the class, like, for a minute after they left. That was a little bit awkward. I don't know who tied a death knot around the chair, but after that, I tied my shoes very tightly because I was pretty sure I was going to have to deal with it for the rest of the day. My next period might have been gym, but in gym they don't do it because you just are, like, running around or whatever, so that'd be hard to do for everybody. In lunch they don't do it either, except I think they targeted one person and just sat with him all of lunch, singing. I'd hate to be that guy. I think he was in choir too. I just don't think he was in either of the groups. So I guess that made it a little bit better for him. But after lunch, I had chemistry. I was quite tired that day. I hadn't slept well the night before or something, and by the time we got to chemistry, After putting up with everything for the start of the day at least, and then just having lunch. And on top of that, my chemistry room was kind of cold always, and I was in a hoodie and sweats, so I was like getting comfortable in the back of chemistry. That was another thing. I was in the back, so the teacher couldn't really see me. He was like on the opposite corner of the room. I'm not gonna lie, I started dozing off a little bit. Not like actually, but very much mentally and probably a little bit physically. And then, the Manitones came in or whatever. There was like 3 other guys that got it, or maybe a girl or something like that, but that was pretty easy. I don't really remember that much. And then, I went and sat back down, and like 30 seconds later, the Velvetones walked in. So I went and sat up at the front of the class. I think 2 of my friends were up there with me. I think 3 of my friends were up there with me. I think the 3rd friend was the one that bought all of them for me. So someone must have bought one for him. It wasn't me. I'm broke, just like my school. So I'm sitting up there. Yeah, I know the drill at this point. I'm kind of tired. And then they start doing their thing. I'm like kind of zoned out. I feel this like pressure on my back. And I realize I'm getting a back massage from someone. And there's only girls behind me. And this was like the best back massage I've ever gotten in my life. And I'm already sleepy. So this back massage is making me struggle. I'm kind of debating in my head whether or not falling asleep in the front of the classroom because a girl is massaging my back would be a bad thing. And I've got this one argument in my head saying, obviously it'd be a bad thing. You're going to look stupid in front of everybody. And then there's the back massage, which is an argument of its own. I'm like zoned out, probably mostly asleep. I'm immediately pulled out of this because their song ended and they like collectively yell Happy Valentine's Day. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely jumped a little bit. I'm hoping no one else noticed, but they probably did. So it's the end of their song. My friend is like looking at me. He's kind of snickering, whatever. I have no idea why. I mean, in the moment, I had no idea why. Now I think it was because he noticed that I had basically fallen asleep and then got startled awake. The worst part is, by the time it was like appropriate to stand up and look around, I couldn't even tell which girl was amazing at giving back massages because she'd like melded into the entourage of girls behind me. So the rest of that period was interesting because I was trying to stay awake. And then the period after that was, I think, English or something. It was the last period of the day. It was a pretty boring class. It was a pretty chill class, but there wasn't much going on, I don't think. And of course, the same thing happened again. I got pulled to the front of the class for the Manitones. It was whatever. They didn't really do much. There was another kid up there with me. I think it was a dude. I had to have been a dude with me up there being sang to, but this new guy that I hadn't seen before was added to the Manitones, or like he showed up. I hope he was a part of the group. And he was touching the other guy, like how the girls were touching people. But he was the only one doing it in that group. So I don't know what was going on there. Kind of felt bad for the other guy who was up there with me, but I was happy it wasn't me, so. Then the Velvetones came up. I saw the girl that I'm pretty sure death knotted my shoes to the chair. And they did their thing. I think there's another guy up there with me. And this girl spent the entire song trying to untie my shoes. And she couldn't get it done. She like almost had one of them done by the end of the song. And she glared at me after the song. I guess she wasn't happy that she couldn't tie my shoes to the chair. And then my last period of the day was a free period, so that was pretty lucky. And you can't buy them for someone in a free period because they could be anywhere in the school if they have a free period. But the group walked past me, and my friend asked them to do it again. So I had another one that he didn't even pay for during my free period. And that was in front of all of my friends, so that was almost worse than just the randos in my class, or classes, I guess. But yeah, some pretty interesting fundraisers.